Hi everyone. Today, being the 6th of June 2014, Nintex released a few more actions for the Nintex workflow for Office 365 product. I am personally very excited about these. These are some of the actions that I've really looked forward to. So what I want to do is make you a quick video to actually show you some of these actions and then briefly go over some of the configuration and things like that. The first action, and you can see this on the left here, is the Start Workflow action. So now you can actually have a workflow kick off another workflow. Now, it's actually pretty important that you're able to do this because sometimes you're building a very complex workflow that has a lot of business logic in it, so lots and lots of actions. And it's actually nicer to be able to start building more modular workflows where you can actually control which workflows run and all that sort of thing, especially when it comes to things like a workflow that kicks off on a particular event, like an item being modified. If you have multiple workflows like that, they will all start at the same time, and there's the potential of being conflicts. So this is a way of actually saying, let's have one workflow kick off, and then it can start the other workflows. So that's actually very exciting. Now, all you have to do is just simply drag and drop this action onto the design canvas, as you can see like that. I've actually already created a couple here, and I've renamed the labels. So I've relabeled them, one being Start Child Workflow 1 and the other one being Start Child Workflow number 2. Now, they don't actually do all that much, they just do a little bit of math calculation. So behind the scenes, it doesn't really matter what they do. But if I open these up, you'll see some of the things that this particular action takes. The first one, you've got your destination site URL, and you can simply click in here, go to Workflow Context, and insert the current site URL property. So that's an easy one. Then you have to specify what type of workflow you want to start. Now in Office 365, with Nintex Workflow, you can actually create site workflows and list workflows. So this allows you to actually kick off one of those. Then you specify what the workflow name is. Now you can see some of these have these advanced lookups, and when I click in here, I have the ability to actually insert a reference to an item property or a variable, so I can actually calculate which workflow I want to start based on some conditions, and then have this action start off that workflow, so I can make this a little bit more dynamic that way as well. Then you have your item ID. Now this can be, if you're building a site workflow, this is the list item that you want to start that workflow on. So in my case, my workflows are going to run on the current item, so that's why I inserted the current item ID property in there. But if you say query a list and pull out all the IDs based on some condition, maybe get a subset of that, you can actually go through each ID and then start off a workflow on each one of those items. You also have the SharePoint URL, again, that you can just simply insert your workflow context current site URL. I think it has to be the base one, so if you're in a sub-site, it may be a little bit different. Might be a good idea to actually store that in a SharePoint list for now and reference that with an advanced lookup. Then you have your username, your password, and then I sometimes like to store the, whether it was a success or not. Now, if I open up the second one, this is actually starting child number 2 there. So what I actually have is I'm going to create another item here. I have a parent workflow and I have 2 child workflows. The parent workflow starts when an item is created. So if I create this item, test 3, and I go to workflows, you should see the parent workflow is running. Under running workflows, there it is there. I can click on this, and then within about, I'd say, a minute or so, you'll see it will start running the child workflow and child workflow number 2. So very exciting in that you can start really making your workflows more modular, break them up into more manageable components, and you'll be able to build better workflows in the long term. And plus a lot easier to maintain. So that's going to be important. Let's see if this has already started. Nope, it's still, you can see it started, but it's still doing its thing. So let's jump to the next one while it's doing that. I'll jump to another designer. Now we have a couple more actions that I think are very important to the Nintex workflow, which are the query XML and update XML. There's a bunch of documents out there that are in XML format, so this will allow you to actually pull data out of those and also update them. So that's exciting and also very useful in a lot of business scenarios. What this workflow does is kind of test this stuff out. So let's have a look at the first action being we're assigning a variable. And you can see we're assigning a little bit of XML and storing it in a text XML or text variable. So it's just a very simple. Most cases, you're not going to have something like this. You're actually going to be pulling that out of some XML file or something like that. Now I've got a few log actions. This is just for my own personal debugging, but the main one is the query XML. So in here, we've got, we're going to select the XML source being content, and we're going to put that text variable in there. Then we use an XPath query, so an XPath expression to actually pinpoint what data we want. And in this case, we're going to look in a node called users and inside a child node called user and then an attribute called name. And we're storing it in a dictionary of results. And we have another log action that will actually go and log that so we can actually see what what we got back. And we should get two because there's the John and Lucy nodes in there. Now what we're going to do is we're going to update the XML. So this is another action that now allows you to actually update XML data. So that's pretty exciting. Again, content, inserted my variable in here by just clicking on that text XML here. Here's my XPath expression. So I'm actually finding a user node where the attribute is equal to John, and I want to come back with the John attribute, the name attribute, because then I'm going to set the node text and I'm going to change it to Fred. Now you have two options here. You can actually store the result in a current, three options actually. Store the result in the current item attachment, store it in a URL, so if you want to update a particular XML document, or in this case, all we want to do is just store it in a text variable so we can log it and make sure that it works. And our final action is the log to the history list. So let's try that. We're going to create a new item called test2. Now, I don't believe I've started this workflow to start automatically, so let's start this off. That kicks off. And you can see that it started. It's built the XML and it logged it. So we know that that part is correct, and that's just setting the variable. Next, what we want to do is wait for it to actually query the data out. Now we pulled out the name attribute for all the user nodes, so we should get back a dictionary of both John and Lucy. Now, while this is working on that, let's jump back to this workflow, which is the parent workflow that we had, and it should have run both child workflows now. Now you can see it says completed. What I'm going to do, and because we weren't actually logging anything, so in that workflow history, we actually don't see any workflows that have run it other than the parent. But if you look in the workflow history here, you'll see under completed workflows, here's the parent, and here's child 1 right there, it ran, and child 2 ran also. So there you go, proven that it does actually work, and you can start building out more complex workflows and building out more modular and more maintainable workflows. So let's jump back to the XML workflow history. Let's have a look at that. And there you go. This is the original XML. You can see I've got John and Lucy. We did a query to pull out all the nodes name attributes, and they came back in a dictionary with John and Lucy. And then what we did is we went and found this node that has name equals to John, and we went and updated that to Fred. And so this is just a very quick and dirty workflow that actually shows you how to query data from some XML and also update XML. And you can see how not only can I actually modify text values inside a node, I can actually modify attribute values as well. So hopefully this opens your eyes to some more possibilities you can now do with Nutex Workflow for Office 365. If you have any questions, please feel free to add some comments to the end of this post, and looking forward to making some more videos that you can learn from. Thank you.